Yeah, well, welcome everyone. If anyone has a question, now's a good time to ask it. And then what happened to Richard? We lost Richard H.
Maybe he's eating or something. Just turned his video off.
Trying to get rid of the body, yeah, that we pointed out to him. All right, well, if there's anyone have any questions or share before we go.
What is the sound of one hand clapping?
Sound of one hand clapping. We turned it,
Walter's demonstrating.
yeah.
If you're desperate for questions.
That's the sound. What's the sound of one hand slapping? Is bitch slap.
All right, good answer. I like it.
We forgot the clapping. We just used slap.
Good idea. Zen bitch clap. Something boring.
That was all, the Zen bitch slap came about
Yeah, tell us.
through necessity, really. So when we were speaking early on with people in recovery, let's say the forest was dense, you'd have to sort of have like a big chainsaw sometimes to get through. So we would, a term out, in the streets, a bitch slap is known. So we just combined the bitch slap with Zen to sort of imply a sudden whack, yes, not expected. So it wasn't probably a good career choice, but because it came out of that furnace of creativity, I didn't want to touch it. Yeah. So we just used the word Zen bitch slap, because usually when someone gets bitch slapped, you don't know what's going to happen. Yes. Yeah, it surprises you. And I feel in most cases, let's say the aha happens and then there's a surprise. The reaction to it is a surprise from the system, yes? Because if something got through without the system defending it, so it sort of got whacked, yeah? Yes, see, when you're talking slowly and taking a lot of deep breaths and taking a break and let's gather our forces together, the head has a field day with that, yes? You need to sort of overwhelm it so that its ability to deflect gets overwhelmed and something gets through, yeah? Yes? That's why the way the talks have gone went that way, and this is all just reverse engineering. I didn't have any idea, it just seemed that taking a long breath and going into silence and stuff just was allowing the head to regroup, yeah? So by going on and on and on, and when someone says, hey honey, can you, yeah, close the door thing. Yeah. So when the system can obviously be the catcher of the message, it neuters the message, yes? So there's a feeling that you know something that you never knew. And basically, the approach to this message for me, there's no approach really, so it's just being. And so what the approach is the negation of all approaches in a way. So the knowing it or trying to get it or understanding it or all that stuff, you lose interest in. Yeah, it's not something you set out to do. It's you observe that effect. Yeah, so you observe that there's been a lot of loss of interest in things that seem to have been important at one stage. Yeah, and you don't get in that topic where there's a loss of interest, it doesn't seem to gain interest in it. Yeah, it just stays as a loss of interest, at least in this case. And I really find that the real, that's a sign of something actually working, is when there's a loss of interest in the topic of, let's say, non-duality or spirituality. When you lose interest in all that, I feel that's a really good sign in a sense. And that interest that's lost in those ideas and those processes and stuff now enriches your day. Yeah. So you're really, when you're feeling, it's just like the example of, you know, there was a time where there was a lot of books based on how to get into the moment. Yeah. So they were promising how you could get into the moment, or how you could stay longer than you thought you could stay in the moment, and all this stuff. And then usually it was followed up that, you know, how can you really get into the moment? And it would be this whole idea predicated on this assumption that you can be out of a moment, which is a very strong assumption the head relies on, yes, for its relevance, really. Because now it's going to have some say in you getting into the moment. So it's going to be the guide to get into the moment, and how it sets its own employment up. It's the one that says you're out of the moment. And so if you buy that you're out of the moment, you sign up for the same guide that told you you're out of the moment to get you into the moment. Yeah. So when that happened, when I realized I've never been out of a moment, obviously any interest or desire to get into the moment was diminished, obviously. You know what I mean? That tributary dried up, and that water went somewhere else. It fed some other kind of flowers, not the conceptual flowers that the water was being used to grow, but something else, an enriching of something. And a lot of those ideas of going in something are completely based that you can be out of something. And when you realize you can't be out of something, the desire to be in it goes, yes? And so this in is before the idea of in and out, yeah? Yeah, so it's not based on I was out and now I'm in, which is only going to lead you to be out again, yes? Because you can't get off of the dualistic seesaw. Once you run up to the in, then the out goes. And then you run out to the out and the in goes, yes? You're the whole seesaw. It's this mental duality. So, and there's an axis there that thinks it's different. And maybe if it gives any meaning to duality, is that it's in it, but it's not of it. It believes it's a singularity. Yeah, Paul. Yes, it doesn't know it's an emblem on, like the emblems of a car. Yeah, with all these moving parts, but you don't call and describe all the moving parts. You just call it a Ford or a car. Yeah, so that Ford, that single, long-lasting, independent, separate entity, is in this experiential low and high tide of duality, but it doesn't feel that it's duality. Yeah, it thinks it's in something. Just like when people read or hear a description of dreaming, their feeling is that they're in a dream, that there's something that's in something. Yeah. So I want to, obviously, if I'm a something that's in the something of dreaming, then it sets up the desire and built with some logic that I can get out of the dream. Yeah. But see, in this invitation, you are the dreaming. Yeah. You are the dreaming. You're not a thing that's in a dream that would be a thing out of the dream. The only place the thing is a thing is in the dreaming. There's no thing that's going to transcend the dreaming as a thing. It's a product of the dreaming. Yeah, if it ever got to the borderline, it would disappear. Yeah, if it crossed the border of dreaming into whatever you want to call it, reality, it would disappear. So see, and it knows this. So your drive, this drive that the head says it has a huge drive to find reality, it's a huge cognitive dissonance because it knows that if it finds reality, it's a goner. So it has no desire to go there because it's not there. It's not interested in going anywhere unless it could be there. Yeah. So when you're listening to this thing that you have this longing for the truth, there's so much tugging the other way, you know? So it's the loss of interest in all this that brings about the obvious state, because now you're present and you're available. Yeah. You're not trying to become available in a future moment. You're present and available, not through any Herculean task or going through the 7, challenges of Hercules. No, just as the fact that's already set. Yeah. Is that, so the idea of getting into the moment was never accomplished. It was the recognition you can't be out of a moment. Yes. So if you can't be out of a moment, being in the moment, you're not sweating. There's no thought or effort or work to stay in the moment. As if you bucked a huge raging river and swam over to the moment, only to feel you're going to get dragged back into the river of not being in the moment. No, none of that happens. You're in the moment because there's a realization you can't be out of a moment. Yeah. So I feel most of the realizations that come through non-duality are of that quality. It's not that you get into anything, you realize you can't be out of anything. Yeah, it's completely different, really. Because usually when there's the desire to get into something, there's a meaning being given to the out that it's a real condition, yes? So the out becomes more real, really, than the in, because what's motivating you to desire to get in is the out. When that's seen to not to be true, you have no desire to get in anymore. You don't. There's no desire to get in. It's like the great wisdom of no escape. The great wisdom of no escape, in the way we're looking at it, is, you can't escape from an imaginary place. Yeah. Yeah. And as an imaginary thing. So there you go. Don't you feel this finally hits you? And then something comes to an end, and yet there's always something that is, but that little mental tributary dries up. Yeah. And that water of attention and interest has to go somewhere. So it gets pulled back, let's say, and now that undirected interest and attention is presence. That's the sense of it. Yeah. So instead of all the interest and attention wanting to become present or whatever, all the loss of interest and all that, then the interest and attention is really presence. Non-directed interest and attention is presence, in a sense. Yeah. Yeah. So the point is to get into anything. The point is to realize you're not out of anything. Yeah. So there you go. Simple. And then these bowling pins fall the same way. They always fall through a negation, so to speak. That which you think needs to be affirmed is the affirmation. There's no need to affirm it. It's like when I ran into Ramesh Balsekar a long time ago. I had read a book of his called Who Cares? Yeah. Liked it. It was describing a different movement of mind than I'd ever been familiar with. Yeah. Most movement in the head was sort of directed by a mental logic. Yes. And non-duality was going against that logic. It was quite cool. And so I was so moved by that book, I went to India by myself flew into Bombay, and then I thought, well, I'm there, I'm gonna go down, because I read Ramana, I'm gonna go down where Ramana lived and see that place, you know? Made total sense to me. So I spent some time in Bombay, and when you were gonna go to satsang at Ramesh's place, people would meet down below on the street, and there would be a guy, Murti, this Indian guy, and he'd ask everyone, is this your first time here? And he'd say yes, if you did. And because he wanted you to sit in a certain chair, because Ramesh was tired of talking to all the people. He only got it like motivated if there was a new person. Like he did. So you were gonna be like the sacrificial lamb. So I went up there and I sat in the chair, and then he came out. And the first thing he did with everybody, when you were this new, he said, hey, do you have a place to stay? He would make sure your material needs were met. Yeah, because he realized if you need a fucking place to stay, you're not gonna, it's just pointless, you know? It's sort of like the level of if the house is on fire and you're getting burned, it's pointless to talk about there is no house and there's no fire. You need to inform the person there's a pail of water there. Yes, that's the message at the moment. So he went through this thing. So then he finally, and so I forgot all about this, but someone sent me a video of this meeting when I spoke with him. And this person knows I don't watch videos. So he said, no, you gotta watch this video. So I watched it. And then when I heard the voice, I said, oh, that was my voice. And I remember the day. So he made it, and this isn't true. He was just using something to get something across. Yeah, this isn't like a non-duality doesn't have a Bible. Yes, it doesn't have a book that's the wording and that's the only way you take it. Yes, and God damn you if you take it, and you know, it's just, it cannot be accompanied by any I or you or any pronouns. It's got to be what? No. So he says, listen, let's talk about presence. Let's talk about it as the impersonal presence and the personal presence. Yeah. All right. So you and I would represent the personal presence in this thing. And he says, listen, do you have a place to live, Paul? And I go, yeah, you know, back home in America. Says, okay, well, when you go to work, do you have to keep remembering you have a place to live while you're working? I said, no. And then I'll add a couple of things. Let's say there's overtime. There's overtime. If there's enough time that you're away from home, are you going to forget you have a house? No. Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Yes. So he says, you got so the home is like the impersonal presence, and then you're at work is the personal presence. So if you keep trying to remember as the personal presence, the impersonal presence, there's no forgetting the impersonal presence because you are the impersonal presence appearing as the personal presence. So something that could be forgotten needs to be remembered, but you don't forget. You're not forgetting you have a place to go home after work. No matter how much work you're doing, it doesn't make you forget you have a house, yes, or a place to sleep. Yeah. Could you imagine? I got so absorbed in my work, I got lost driving home. Very rarely, yes. So it was very clear, very clear. So this idea. See, we believe that we're something different, even if we say we're the same thing. So there's presence, and we're feeling we're like a personal presence. Or there's subjectivity, but we think we're the subject, yes? And so as the subject, we're trying to remember subjectivity while we are subjectivity. You see the point? Every movement is based on an idea. See, and that idea that it's based on can be moved. You can see that move. You can see that be forgotten. Yes. Yeah. So how it's used to motivate or to point at or to drive a desire, by recognizing it's not true, the seeking just flattens out. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like seek no more, not through an effort, but through recognition. Recognition that you're not going to get it as what you're not. Now that can be a drag if you hear it as what you're not, but it's hallelujah if you hear it. Yeah. If you hear it, it puts to rest so much shit. Yes. Really. And then all the judgments of your velocity and how you're progressing to the truth or whatever, it doesn't, there's just a loss of interest in all that. Yeah. And to me, that's the great relief. The relief is from the need to have relief, The great liberation is from the need to be liberated. Yeah, all that stuff, you lose interest in it. And then here you are, as you've always been. Yeah. Yeah. So you never know what it's like until you see it, like through reverse engineering in this way. You have no idea. If you're thinking you know you perfectly, you could not build you, and you can't unbuild you. Yeah. You can see it get unbuilt. And then there's a lot of recognition that you had no idea as the thing that was going to get unbuilt, how it could be built and unbuilt. Just the last thing this thing wants to know. Yeah. So you get unbuilt, and there's a lot that's seen, and then you're just here, Italy or wherever. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, so anyone else have a question or anything? Thanks, Paul H. Yeah, I'm changing my name while I'm in Italy. It's Pool Heddermano is my name here. My Amelia's sister-in-law calls Paul Pool. So it's not P-A-U-L, it's P-U-A-L. So it's Pool, and I figured just cut out the man of Hedderman and put Heddermano. I'm Italian. Not hard, eh? Yeah. So, yeah, it's nice to see Melissa here. Very good. Melissa's the third eye may not be an eye. You know what I mean? The third eye is the policeman, thief, and then the third appearance.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
We may have jumped to the wrong conclusion. The third eye meant this.
I watched your answer quite a few times in the week. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Oh, great.
Yeah, really helped.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I know people who are they've done a whole lot more than I have. Much more interested, much more devoted, much more keen, but they're driven crazy. Yeah, and it would look like they would be doing better without anything. Their resume is actually choking them. It's way too much knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I figure a lot of that knowledge has been obviously claimed, and it created like instead of a policeman, like a master sergeant or something. Yeah.
I think that. That's what happened.
So they're just very heavy. Yeah. And I think, and remember some of those people that maybe have inspired us. It was what was the thing that Saint Teresa went through that night? What was that? The long night or something?
Dark night of the soul.
Yeah. So that's one, it was singular, a night, not 800 nights. Yes, it was like one tough night or whatever it was. It wasn't like get ready for 300 hours, 800 days of nights. No, yeah. The head got carried away. You know how the Course in Miracles tries to express that this thing isn't based on sacrifice or martyrdom. It's sort of not like that, yeah? There's no requirements necessary. You may have to go through requirements, but none of them are inherently necessary, yes? Like we say in AA, you have to be willing to go to any lengths. Any lengths means no length also. It doesn't mean, well, it's gonna be 30 miles. Any length could be no length. And I've experienced a lot in recovery that I wasn't called to go to any length at all. Just the willingness was the key. Willing to go to any length, but it didn't turn into going to extensive long lengths. Yeah. So, I mean, the head knows, the head reads shit in a way, yes. Yeah, and it likes to lay a lot of heaviness on things. You see it at meetings like this, you know, awakening has really bummed out a lot of people, the word, yeah. And enlightenment, which one of the definitions is cessation of all suffering, has been used to suffer in spiritual communities, yeah. The word enlightenment, yet it means a cessation of all suffering, but how the head uses the word enlightenment is to provoke suffering. That's, you know, what more do you need? How many examples do you need of its direction? I mean, yeah. I know a lot of people would have been better off if they never heard the term awakening. They would have found an okayness in their day-to-day living, but now they have another, geez, I need to awaken. I'm not awake. Or the worst is I was awake, but I did something to blow it. That's a real bad one. That one is really crazy. Yeah, I was awake once, but now I'm not awake. What? That's a hell in itself. It was very simple. If you believe you can achieve something, you believe you can lose it. That ain't this message, yeah. This message isn't achieving anything, and therefore there's no losing of anything, yes, except interest, really. That's a lot of the loss, so. Anyone else? I've seen some new people come. There's Chris G, haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, I thought of that too.
We got Wayne. Wayne, like I told him the first time I saw him, if I was gonna try to get a job as a spiritual teacher, I would try to look like Wayne there. Yeah, with the long gray hair and shit. You could have fooled me, Wayne. It's too late now. All right, anyone? Hey, Stefan, on having never left.
Just to let you know, I looked up the Dark Night of the Soul, and the first thing that comes up is attributed to Mother Teresa, who I guess expressed it as having 50 years of it. But the original is a poem, a title given to a poem by St. John of the Cross, which is only like five lines.
And there you go.
Short little poem.
I'm in St. John's camp.
Yeah. But no, I like that. I mean, it's you know, the things that that get brought up that are funny, that like disappearing, that's going to disappear. Like that gives me the image of like from sci-fi when somebody starts to stick their hand into where reality starts, and then it starts to disappear and you pull it back. I had to look up Dark Night of the Soul, and that fits into that category about finding out that where Mother Teresa took it versus where it started.
Well, remember the old joke we told a lot, about the monk and the new abbot coming to the monastery. And the monk, the abbot calls him over to his room and says, I want you to do a translation of all the scriptures. And the monk says, well, we just did this a couple months ago. And he says, no, I want you to do it again. So the monk gets a little bit of resentment, but goes down into the cellar and he's going over everything. And then he realizes, wow, he sees a mistake, and he runs up and knocks on the abbot's door, wakes him up, and it says, the word was celebrate. Not celebrate.
That just strikes me. It's like spirituality is actually a really long, bad time of telephone, but you play, like you just whisper something, and by the time it gets around, it's like a really long, and it's in time. It's a really long telephone game.
Yeah, I would just keep it very clear. If I ever gave anyone that book, The Dark Night of the Soul, I'd put a circle around the singular night.
Yeah, no, that's what that was. I'm gonna bring that up for now.
Not the dark nights of the soul, the dark night. Yes. I think maybe we've all been through it already. We're in post dark night of the soul without knowing it. Yeah. We keep redoing it over and over again.
There's actually a good reference to that in the Course in Miracles, where supposedly Jesus says, "Hey, or it might not be the Course in Miracles, but hey, I got crucified, and I had a bad week, but you are doing like what you're saying. You're doing much worse."
Yeah. You make the same breakfast, and then you forgot that you made it, so you make it again the next day and the next day. Yeah. So anyone else today?
No other hands showing.
I'm getting hot now.
Oh yeah, is the weather good?
Weather's beautiful. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I'm only bringing like 3 Zen bitch slap shirts and a couple tank tops. So
I got some more Zen bitch slap shirts I'm bringing.
also,
I
I don't
got
bring these
the
then.
truck, so yeah, the truck. So you got to get one of those. Yeah.
It's my spam likely is called. Sorry.
Well, does anyone else have a question or anything? You get the flavor of it, yes? Yeah, like Melissa had enough. David B had enough, So after, what happens when something doesn't work, usually somewhere along the line, you get blamed, yes? We never really take an honest assessment of what's being presented, and really, we disguise the failure of a system by feeling the self-failure, which is of the system, yeah? So we keep blaming us for not staying long enough with the guru, or kissing his feet or her feet, or meditating longer. But in fact, you can't arrive at where you already are. It's impossible, yeah? It's just the way. So this is what's so beautiful when things fail. It's great, because maybe you'll stop picking, there is a point, like we emphasize it in recovery, of being convinced, yes, where there's a believing with certainty. So when I heard satsang, a lot of things became convincing, like that I'm never gonna get it, that it's not an experience, yeah, because it would mean there is something other than it to experience it, which isn't the case. And so basically there was a lot of being convinced, and the tide turned, basically, yeah. And it doesn't matter, it's all it needs is 50.01%. It just has to change the balance, yeah, where silence is more what you're listening to, and the head is what's being heard, yes? The head's playing all day is heard, but what you're listening to is silence, in a sense, yeah? And that brings the wisdom into the hearing of the insanity, truly. And what happens is that silence brings you to an end, a lot of stuff. You're convinced that, hey, you can't get into a moment because you've never been out of a moment. You're convinced that you're never gonna get it because you are it. You're convinced that, yeah, on and on and on, yeah? And it doesn't, it's just a knocking down of a few things and then the momentum changes. Not everything has to be knocked down. Who knows how much or how little, but there'll be a change in direction in a way, or a movement or momentum. And that momentum generates itself, yeah? Yeah. So you're here. You can't be more here, you just hear more. So that's all. You can't, it's just on and on with the flavor of time. It's just like, you never get gypped. You're here every second, awake, asleep, whatever. Yeah. So, well, if you don't have much questioning, I'm going to
Say goodbye.
yeah, we'll chill out, I guess. But this will work. We will probably do this now. Yes, we can do this every Saturday, Mike.
Okay, except the 17th still, or do you think you can do
Well,
that?
maybe we can do it at the retreat. No, we won't do it on the retreat. My higher power just gave me a no there, so Amelia. So we won't do any,
But she said you have a talk.
we won't do it on the 17th Saturday.
But what did Amelia say, that you have a talk?
No, we're just maybe doing something else that night, you know,
Oh,
so. Yeah, so just make sure, yeah, so we won't, but then only next week we won't have it, and then the next 2 weeks we will, yeah,
okay.
something like that. All right, well, let me say goodbye to everyone. Mike, I'll be seeing you shortly, yes?
Wednesday.
I'll have a wardrobe ready for you.
Thank you.
You just have to trust me. Whatever color I get you, whatever, yes, just trust. Melissa, a pleasure to meet you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. We got John C. Nice to see you, John.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome to Europe, guys.
Yes, great, yes. It's nice to be here. Amelia's family is very nice, yeah. They all talk Italian, which I don't understand, so. Yeah, Amelia, every once in a while, keys me in, but mostly keeps me in the dark, yeah. Yes, Walter, nice to see you, Walter. There's a mosquito there. Paul H, yeah. Nice to see you, Paul. Thanks for coming. Wayne, always a pleasure to see Wayne there. David B, not in jail, not in the hospital. It's a good day. Yes.
Cheers.
Rich H, you can get rid of the body now, Rich. I gave you some
Okay.
time.
You gone swimming yet?
Hmm?
Have you gone swimming yet?
Yes, I've been swimming a lot already. Yeah. We just walked down. It's the Adriatic. The Adriatic is like a lake, pretty much. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, very beautiful. And so we just walk down there and go swimming. Yep. We got Chris C. Chris is not at his usual door. He's come out in the open. Nice to see you, Chris. Stefan, as always. Mark. Thanks,
Mark
Mark.
just got here, so you can start over for him if you want.
Nice to see you, Mark. Kind of try to make it an early night. I appreciated your last weekend. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be here again and again and again, probably.
I'll be here next time.
All right, great to see you, bro.
Thank you.
And let's see, anyone else here? Yes, oh, we've got Amy from Seattle. We got Anu will be here soon in India, in Italy.
See you soon, pal. Looking forward to it.
You had everyone coming to Italy and the retreat was in India. That would have been fun.
That would be a bad.
Nice to see you, Anu. We're gonna be here, don't worry. We're gonna be there Wednesday in the late afternoon.
Around 4 or 5.
We'll be around there 4 or 5 on Wednesday, so, yeah. Yeah, all right, everyone else, I think that's it. Thanks, guys, for coming and, yeah. Remember, don't take yourselves so seriously. It's good news. Yeah,
Thank you.
but
Absolutely.
see you, Mike. I'll see you. Thank you, everyone. Pleasure.
Enjoy.
Ciao.
We'll see you, yeah, soon. Bye-bye.